It goes without saying to start a story at the beginning. In 1954, in the early hours of the 4th of July, in Cleveland, Ohio, Marilyn Sheppard, the wife of Dr. Sam Shepard, was bludgeoned to death in her home, in her bedroom, in her bed. She had 35 wounds, 15 to the skull, and many multiple defense wounds. The blood splattered all over the walls as she fought hard. She was 4 months pregnant. Her 7-year-old son slept in the next room, undisturbed. Her husband, having drank heavily during a party they hosted that night with friends, there had been some loud argument about her smoking, had passed out on the couch downstairs. He claims to have awoken from her screams and confronted a bushy-haired stranger who knocked him unconscious. When he came to, his wife had no sign of life, and he ran to chase after the attacker to the lake. They fought in the water. He lost his shirt, then was struck unconscious again. When he awoke this time and made his way back home, he called a family friend, and then the police. The child and the dog slept during the attack as well. At this time, this was the most famous complex murder investigation because television was now in almost every home. Sam Jr. referred to his father as an American prince, top track and football star, youngest neurosurgeon. The police had other ideas. No murder weapon, no forced entry, no burglary. Valuables everywhere, still intact. Textbook domestic assault. And he had lied about his long-term affair with a personal assistant. Television journalism made this a spectacle, creating one of the first TV criminal celebrities. He was convicted of second-degree murder, which meant life instead of the electric chair. Modern forensics was not as precise, and the crime scene was not processed. Having seen a story about this as a young child, there was a lot of discussion about blood types, A or B or O, and that's all they had to go on. Contamination would be certain. During the incarceration, Dr. Sheppard's mom committed suicide. His father died of an ulcer, and Marilyn, the late Dr. Sheppard's wife, her father committed suicide. He was released after 8 years in prison, stating the bias of the judge on the case in habeas corpus and the lack of forensic evidence against him. The judge's failure to curb the press denied Sheppard a fair trial. The first case built on scandal. In his second trial, in 1966, the jury acquits, but the cloud of suspicion and the public scandal never left him. Dr. Sheppard married 2 times, but lost his practicing license after the controversial death of 2 patients. 6 years after his release, he dies of alcohol poisoning, age 46. Sam Jr., who supported his father long after his death, stated, "We are bloodied but unavowed." After taking the case to court for more advanced forensic testing to clear his father's name, at this third trial, his father could not be exonerated. By 1963, the British drama series The Fugitive was the most popular in the world, with 78 million viewers at the 4-season finale, a record kept unbroken until the series Dallas in the 80s. The creators and producers insisted the show was not based on the Sheppard case, and as well the famous film The Fugitive with Harrison Ford as the doctor, convicted of killing his wife and also claiming a burglary assailant. He wasn't the last to claim, "I didn't do it, I'm innocent." Tommy Lee Jones won the Oscar. But this isn't the story, just the background. Our story is about an aristocrat, Richard John Bingham, or better known as Lord Lucan. He was the 7th Earl of Lucan, a British peer who disappeared after being suspected of murder 40 years ago. On December the 7th, 1974, around 10 p.m., Lady Lucan ran from her home in Belgravia, London, to the Plumber's Arms pub, covered in blood, from head to toe. Hysterical before collapsing in shock, she stated her husband had just attempted to kill her and had killed the nanny. Veronica Duncan and John Bingham met at a golf club function, and later that year, her sister married the astute Lucky Lucan's best friend. Their courtship was short and formal. They had little in common. Almost never see them smiling in any photographs. Lucan, who attended Eton College, supplemented his pocket money with an income from bookmaking, and often left the school grounds to attend horse races. Briefly did his 2-year national service in his father's regiment, and became a keen poker player. His reputation as a frivolous playboy with a passion for gambling, cars, the Aston Martin, and racing speedboats. He subsequently turned down the offered screen test for Cubby Broccoli for the role of James Bond in the cinematic version of Ian Fleming's novels. He was an early member of the Claremont Club, favoring backgammon and bridge. After one large win of 26 on a game, $250,000 in today's currency, he quit his job as a merchant banker in London, stating, "Why should I work in a bank when I can earn years' money in one night at the tables?" So he became a professional gambler. The Lucky Lucan streak had begun and ended there. His losses outweighed his winnings. After losing most of his own small fortune and trying of credit on another expensive speedboat racing defeat, his father passed on, leaving the estate and title to his son, now the 7th Earl. With his wife, now the Countess Veronica, she bore him 3 children, 1 male heir. Most evenings spent at the Claremont gambling, losing, and the marriage strained, collapsing. Perhaps he found his wife a liability. On one occasion, taking her out for a ride in the country, Lord Lucan tried to have her committed at a mental hospital. She refused to be admitted. Lucan canvassed doctors, but to no avail. In 1972, the marriage collapsed, and Lucan fought a bitterly expensive custody battle. Lord Lucan just moved down the street. He began to spy and record conversations with his wife. He harassed her nannies, trying to get information to use against his wife, and then claiming no one could work for her. The Countess feared for her safety and told one nanny not to be surprised if he kills me one day. Lucan's heated custody battle made him look more unstable. At the most embarrassing, his wife made public his private sexual perversions of making her dress in rubber and whipping her with a cane. Lucky Lucan was a big fan, as much as everyone in the country, of the popular series The Fugitive, and had on more than one occasion bragged loudly about his desire to kill his wife and then blamed the crime on an intruder. He had also inquired with friends about insurance claims he could make on stolen valuables. Financially ruined, he began to drink heavily. One friend from the club gave a statement to police that Lucan had said killing his wife might save him from bankruptcy, and how her body might be disposed of, and how he would never be caught. He asked friends for money, claiming an attempt to buy his children. Or perhaps this was a ruse to fuel his gambling addiction. Days before the crime, friends reported Lucan in a good mood. He had borrowed a car, a scruffy Ford Corsair, and a friend loaned him £3,000. On the 7th of November, 1974, Sandra Ravetti, the Lucan children's nanny, changed her night off. After putting the children to bed at 8:55 p.m., she made her way downstairs to the basement kitchen for tea. Lord Lucan was waiting, with a lead pipe taped to make a good handle for grip, having used his key to quietly enter the building. He had also unscrewed the light bulb in the basement. Miss Ravetti had been with Lady Lucan for 4 months, young, from a modest home, red hair, but the same height and small stature of her lady. Lord Lucan bludgeoned her to death, then putting her body in a large burlap mail sack. Lady Lucan called to Ravetti from upstairs and was coming down to see if Sandra needed anything. Lucky realized his mistake. He charged up the stairs to hit his wife from behind. As she screamed for her life, she was told to shut up. The two continued to fight. She bit his fingers, and when he had thrown her face down to the carpet, throttling her, she managed to turn around and squeeze his testicles, causing him to release his grip on her throat. When she asked about Ravetti, Lucan admitted he killed her. Terrified, Lady Lucan told him she could help him escape if he would remain at the house a few days to allow her injuries to heal. Lucan dragged her upstairs and placed towels on the bed because she was bleeding badly, so she could lie down. The oldest child, Francis, was awakened, but then was told to go back to bed. Mommy and Daddy are just arguing. Perhaps that was the norm. She did as she was told. Lady Lucan then agreed to take barbiturates overdose, and as the Lord went to the ensuite bathroom for water, Lady Lucan made her escape, down the stairs, out the door, and down the street to the plumber's arms. Lucan left the property and called his mother, the Dowager Countess, and spoke of a terrible catastrophe at his wife's home. He told her he had been driving past the house, and when he saw Veronica fighting with the man in the basement, he had entered the property and found his wife screaming. Where he made this call is unknown. Police found no forced entry. Bloodstained towel, bloody top of the staircase, and a metal banister rail that had been damaged. At the foot of the stairs, in a burlap sack, was the body of Ravetti. 2 cups and saucers nearby and a pool of blood. The light fitting missing a bulb was found on her chair. Upon inspection, it was in working order. Everything supported Lady Lucan's account. Upon Lucan's second call to his mother, she asked him if he would like to speak to the police constable present, and he declined. He would turn himself in the morning. The police did not want to press a peer of the realm, and expected him to keep his gentleman's word. The Earl wrote 2 letters to his brother-in-law and posted them, bloodstained. One about finances, what could be sold at Christie's, and in the other, Dear Bill, the most ghastly circumstances arose tonight, which I briefly described to my mother. When I interrupted the fight at Lower Belgrave Street and the men left, Veronica accused me of having hired him. The circumstantial evidence against me is strong, in that V will say it was all my doing. We'll lie doggo for a bit. V has demonstrated her hatred for me in the past, and would do anything to see me accused. And about the children. When they are old enough to understand, explain to them the dream of paranoia. Lucan was last seen 1:15 a.m., 8th of November, 1974, exiting the driveway of the property of Maxwell Scott, East Sussex. His wife had not heard radio or television, and was unaware of what had happened. A warrant was issued 4 days later, and description sent to Interpol. The Ford Corsair was left abandoned at New Haven Downs, a shipping port on the southeast coast. Upon inspection of the car, in the boot was found another lead pipe. just like the motor weapon left behind with tape grip handle. It is mostly thought he bartered his way onto any of the numerous boats crossing the channel that early morning. The relationship between police and the Earl's social circle was strained, with some officers complaining about the Eton Mafia working against them. Many of Lucan's friends stood by him, claiming his innocence. In contrast, the national press were almost unanimous in their condemnation. One writer from the Sunday Times attacked for unfavorable press against Lucan committed suicide. Lord Lucan was declared the killer by the coroner, and in his absence, to the inquest of River's death, named her murderer. Lady V and some friends claimed he committed suicide, as if this would be the right thing to do. Lady Osborne was asked if she could help locate Lucan, stating, "The last I heard of him, he was being fed to the tigers at my son's zoo," insinuating that he had killed himself and been eaten by tigers in the Chasing the Tiger by the Tail article. The police, upon inspection, thoroughly confirmed that this was not true. Some claim that Lucan was helped out of the country by shadowy underground financiers before being judged too great a risk and then killed. All sightings disproven around the world: Africa, France, Mexico, New Zealand. He was declared legally dead in 1999. The Passage of Presumption of Death Act in 2013. Finally, his son inherited the title of 8th Earl. Lady V claimed all sightings as nonsense, and in her opinion, her husband was not the sort of Englishman to cope abroad. No one has seen him since. With his penchant for gambling, this was probably the last gamble he won, escaping justice. My sympathies to Lady Victoria, who died at age 80 in 2017, another suicide, and to the family of Sandra Rivet. And that's my story. If you like, compliment. If you love, subscribe. And don't forget to take hostages.